Good afternoon and welcome. First up, news from Southeast Asia. Indonesian Disaster Management Authority has raised the alert to highest level of 4 on Bali's Mount Agung volcano. Authorities have warned residents living in an 8 to 10 kilometer radius around the volcano to evacuate immediately. Grey ash was seen rising from the craters with visible flames accompanied with weak combustions, signaling the volcano could erupt imminently. Malaysian Airlines have cancelled all flights between Kuala Lumpur and Bali after an eruption at Mount Agung. The airline is monitoring the situation closely and will adjust its flight operations into and out of Ngurah Rai International Airport of Bali when necessary. An alert was raised as Mount Agung volcano continued to spill ashes after erupting for the second time in the last 1 week. Around 40,000 residents have evacuated from a danger zone around the Bali volcano.
To increase the alert level activity from Z level or siaga to the 4th level or awas. Since 27 November 2017, 6:00 o'clock. Yeah.
A video which captured the eruption showed black volcanic ash bellowing from the crater. The latest eruption produced a bigger ash cloud than the initial eruption on Tuesday. Authorities have called for calm among the local community. And I'm now joined by Janine Krippner, a volcanologist from Pittsburgh in the U.S. Thank you for joining us here on WION, Janine. What information can you share about the situation obtaining in Bali now as we speak?
So what's been happening over the last few months with Agung volcano in Bali is that we had 2 months of a lot of seismicity as the magma has moved towards the surface. So it's been making its way up through the crust of the earth towards the surface. This was very active for a while and then this really dropped back quite a lot, but the Indonesian authorities have still said that an eruption was possible. A few days ago, we saw a phreatic eruption, and what that is a steam eruption. So that's when so much steam is in the volcano from water being heated by magma that it no longer can be held back, and it causes an explosion which blasts a lot of rock into tiny pieces. Now, what we've seen since then, starting a few days ago or yesterday, was that the magma has finally reached the surface, and it is now erupting in an ash plume.
When was the last recorded volcanic activity at Mount Agung in Bali?
Yes, the last 5,000 years of activity at Agung volcano has been researched, and the 1963 eruption is quite well known.
And what actually happened in 1963, as you mentioned there?
Yes, so in 1963, the eruption actually produced a lava flow first, and this was for about 2 months, and then it produced 2 very large eruptions, and this ended up killing over 1,100 people. And this was from largely pyroclastic flows, which is a very hot, extremely rapid-moving avalanche that goes down the volcano and destroys everything in its path, and lahars, which are mud flows, volcanic mud flows. And that's because so much material is being deposited on the slopes right now that heavy rainfall can wash that into a big flood. And these are very, very rapid and deadly as well. And we're also moving into the rainy season in Bali right now, which is a big hazard.
Also, Janine, for those who are not familiar with the situation obtaining in Indonesia, how vulnerable is Indonesia to volcanic eruptions?
And this is quite common in Indonesia. Indonesia has one of the highest amounts of active volcanoes on the planet. So the authorities there are very well experienced. They know what they're doing. They have a lot of monitoring equipment on Agung right now. They're measuring everything that volcano is doing.
And also, what are you now hearing about the volcano?
At the moment, I'm really just watching and waiting. They've raised the alert to the highest level, and because they are anticipating that a larger eruption is possible at this point. And that's based on the incandescence, the glowing that they've seen at nighttime, showing that magma is at the surface, as well as the other eruptive activities that they're seeing. So at this point, it's really hard to tell exactly what is going to happen, but there's definitely a higher possibility at this chance of a larger eruption.
All right, thank you, Janine. But before we let you go, would you like to flag or highlight any aspect that we might not have covered in this conversation?
Just really like to say that the authorities have done a really great job. This has been playing out like they said it would. They said that there was still a chance of eruption, and it would likely start with a smaller eruption and then lead into a larger one, and that is exactly what has happened. They've done an amazing job.
All right, on that note, Janine, thank you so much. You were listening to Janine Krippner joining us from Pittsburgh in the U.S.